He chose to be homeless, chose to lose his family, his house, his name, not from addiction or failure, but from love. The kind of love that makes a man sacrifice everything to keep one promise. I will protect your family, even if it cost him his own. Welcome to the Quite Tales studio. The bridge cast its shadow over the riverbank at exactly 6:47 a.m., same as it had every morning for the past 20 years. Marcus Sullivan, though no one had called him that name in decades, sat cross-legged on his piece of cardboard, watching the joggers pass overhead. They couldn't see him from up there, tucked beneath the concrete and steel, surrounded by shopping carts filled with what most people assumed was junk. They were wrong about a lot of things. The runners followed predictable patterns. Sarah Mitchell, the district attorney, always took the north path at 6:52 a.m. She wore blue earbuds and carried mace in her left pocket. Smart woman. Dr. James Rodriguez from the Children's Hospital used the south route, slower pace, checking his phone every 30 seconds, probably on call. But it was the black sedan that concerned him this morning. Same car, third day in a row, parked near the bridge's east entrance. Different license plate each time, but the same dent in the rear bumper. Professional surveillance teams were usually better at hiding their vehicles. Marcus reached into his cart and pulled out what looked like a broken radio. To anyone watching, he appeared to be another crazy homeless man talking to electronics. The device crackled to life. Phoenix Base, this is Guardian. I have eyes on suspicious vehicle, black sedan, partial plate Delta 79, requesting background check. The voice that responded was crisp, professional. Guardian, confirmed. Vehicle registered to Shell Company. Traced to Kozlov organization. Threat level elevated. Maintain position. Marcus clicked off the radio and slipped it back between the newspapers and empty bottles. After 20 years of this charade, he'd perfected the art of being invisible. The Secret Service had taught him well. Too well, perhaps. Sometimes he wondered if he'd forgotten how to be anything else. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Daddy, I miss you. Emma's school play is tonight. I know you can't come, but I wish you could. Sarah, his daughter, 28 years old now, married with a little girl of her own. She didn't know why her father had disappeared when she was 8. Didn't know that the car accident that supposedly killed him had been staged. Didn't know that every birthday card she'd received over the years, signed from someone who loves you, had come from the man living under a bridge 12 miles from her house. Marcus deleted the message. Same as always. It was safer that way. The morning routine continued. By 8 a.m., the joggers were replaced by commuters. By 9 a.m., Senator Thomas Brennan's security detail would pass by on their way to the federal building. The senator himself rode in the second car, armored, tinted windows, 3-man escort team. What the official security team didn't know was that their convoy had a guardian angel they'd never met. Marcus had been protecting the Brennan family since 1999, when Thomas was just a rising congressman with a pregnant wife and big dreams. The death threats had started early, environmental activists angry about his energy policies, corporate enemies upset about his financial reform bills, standard political targeting. Nothing the official security couldn't handle. Then came the night that changed everything. A Russian assassin named Viktor Kozlov had infiltrated the senator's home security. 3 minutes. That's how long it would have taken for the entire Brennan family to die in their sleep. Marcus had been on the midnight shift, noticed the subtle changes in the house's electrical patterns, the way the dogs stayed quiet when they should have been barking. He'd saved them all that night. The senator, his wife, their newborn son Timothy. But Kozlov had escaped, and the next morning, Marcus found his own family under surveillance. The choice had been simple: maintain his cover as a Secret Service agent and watch his wife and daughter become targets, or disappear completely, let everyone think he was dead, and continue protecting the Brennans from the shadows. He'd chosen love over duty, or maybe they were the same thing. The text from his daughter had unsettled him more than usual. Emma's school play. His granddaughter was 7 now, the same age Sarah had been when he'd made his choice. Sometimes, late at night, when the bridge was empty and the city was quiet, he wondered if he'd been a coward, if a better man would have found another way. The radio crackled again. "Guardian, we have a situation. Timothy Brennan failed to check in at his university. Last seen leaving campus at 3:47 p.m. Vehicle located abandoned in Riverside Park. This is not a drill." Marcus was on his feet before the transmission ended. Timothy, the baby he'd saved 20 years ago, was now a junior at Georgetown, studying international relations. Good kid, smart, careful. He wouldn't just disappear, unless someone had made him disappear.
Phoenix Base, I'm mobile. Send me his last known coordinates.
Guardian, negative. You are not authorized for active operations. FBI has been notified. Official channels are... Marcus turned off the radio. Official channels, red tape, bureaucracy, while a 20-year-old kid was probably zip-tied in the back of a van somewhere, terrified and alone. He moved through his camp with practiced efficiency. The shopping carts weren't random. They were carefully organized supply caches. Cart 1 held civilian clothes, cash, and identification documents. Cart 2 contained weapons, a Sig Sauer P226, 2 backup magazines, tactical knife, and body armor. Cart 3 was communications and surveillance equipment. In less than 3 minutes, Marcus Sullivan had transformed from a homeless vagrant into what he'd always been, a federal agent with 25 years of experience and nothing left to lose. The abandoned car was easy to find. Timothy's blue Honda Civic sat in the Riverside Park parking lot, driver's door open, keys still in the ignition. Classic snatch and grab. Professional, but rushed. Marcus examined the scene with trained eyes. Scuff marks on the asphalt, size 12 boots, military tread, 2 sets of footprints, both leading toward the tree line. No signs of struggle near the car, which meant Timothy had been surprised, probably overwhelmed before he could react. Marcus followed the trail into the woods. Broken branches at shoulder height, footprints in the soft earth, a piece of torn fabric caught on a thorn tree. The kidnappers had carried dead weight through here. Timothy was unconscious. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "If you want to see Senator Brennan's son alive, come to the old warehouse on Pier 47. Come alone. Come unarmed. You have 1 hour." Marcus stared at the message. They knew. After 20 years of perfect operational security, somehow they knew who he was. He typed back, "Who is this?" The response came immediately. "An old friend. Victor Kozlov sends his regards." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. Kozlov, the Russian assassin who'd started this whole nightmare. 20 years later, and the bastard was still hunting the Brennan family. But how had he found out about Marcus? How had he connected a dead Secret Service agent to a homeless man under a bridge? The answer came in the next text. "Your daughter Sarah is quite lovely, so is little Emma. It would be a shame if something happened to them during their drive to the school play tonight." He had a choice to make. Save Timothy and risk exposing himself, or stay hidden and let an innocent kid die to protect his operational security. It wasn't really a choice at all. Pier 47 sat at the edge of the industrial district, a crumbling monument to the city's maritime past. The warehouse had been abandoned for years, its windows broken, its walls covered in graffiti. Perfect place for a murder. Marcus approached from the waterside, using the shadows of rusted shipping containers for cover. His earpiece crackled with intercepted radio chatter. Kozlov's men were using encrypted channels, but Marcus had spent 2 decades listening to their communications. He'd learned to recognize their patterns. 4 hostiles inside the building. Timothy was being held in the main warehouse space, probably tied to a chair in the center of the room. Classic setup. Nowhere to hide. Multiple angles of fire. Perfect killing field. Marcus checked his watch. 43 minutes until Emma's school play started. His granddaughter would be looking for him in the audience, hoping her mysterious benefactor might finally show his face. He wouldn't be there. But if he did this right, she'd have many more plays to perform. The warehouse had 3 entrances: main door, service entrance, and loading dock. Marcus chose the 4th option, a hole in the roof where a skylight had fallen through years ago. He rappelled down a rope made from his own shoelaces and strips of cloth, landing silently in the shadows of the upper catwalks. From above, he could see the entire scene. Timothy sat bound to a chair in the center of the space, conscious but groggy. 4 men in tactical gear stood at the corners of the room, assault rifles ready. And in the middle of it all, a figure Marcus recognized even after 20 years. Viktor Kozlov hadn't aged well. His hair was gray now, his face lined with scars, but his eyes still held the same cold intelligence that had made him so dangerous. He was talking to Timothy, his voice carrying in the empty space. "Your father thinks his security is perfect," Kozlov was saying. 3 cars, 6 agents, armored vehicles, very impressive. But he forgot about the man who has been protecting him longer than anyone else, the ghost who watches from the shadows. Timothy lifted his head, confused. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Of course you don't. You were just a baby when Marcus Sullivan saved your life, when he chose to become a dead man to keep you safe. Very noble, very stupid." Marcus felt his blood run cold. Kozlov knew everything. 20 years I have been looking for him," Kozlov continued. 20 years of hunting a dead man. Do you know how I finally found him? His daughter. She volunteers at a homeless shelter every Tuesday. Very kind heart. She brings food to the same bridge every week, always looking for someone special, someone who might be her father. Sarah, his daughter, had been looking for him. All these years she'd known he was alive. She never found him, of course, but I did. Amazing what you can learn when you watch the right people for long enough. Kozlov pulled out a phone and showed Timothy a picture. "Your protector, the man who has been living like an animal to keep you safe. He should be here soon, and when he arrives, we will finally finish what we started in 1999. Marcus moved silently along the catwalk, positioning himself above the main group. 4 shots, 4 targets, all within a 3-second window. He could do it. But Timothy was in the middle of it all, and one stray bullet would end everything. His phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "Dad, I know you're out there. I know you're alive. Emma is asking about her grandfather again. She says she dreams about a man who watches over her at night. Please, let us know you're okay." Marcus closed his eyes. 20 years of sacrifice, 20 years of being dead to the people he loved most. And now it was all about to end, one way or another. He took aim at the first target, steadied his breathing, and prepared to step out of the shadows. But before he could fire, Timothy spoke up from his chair, his voice stronger now, clearer. "You're wrong about something," the young man said to Kozlov. "Marcus Sullivan isn't the only one who's been protecting my family." Kozlov turned, interested. "Oh? My father told me the story when I turned 18, about the agent who saved us, who died in a car accident. But he also told me something else. He said that even after the agent died, we were still being protected. Someone was still watching, someone who cared enough to keep us safe." Timothy looked directly up at the catwalk where Marcus was hidden. "He's not just some homeless guy under a bridge. He's my guardian angel, and guardian angels don't work alone." The warehouse lights came on all at once, flooding the space with harsh white light. FBI agents poured through every entrance, tactical teams in full gear, voices shouting commands. Kozlov and his men were surrounded in seconds, their weapons trained on a dozen federal agents. Marcus remained perfectly still on the catwalk, watching the scene unfold below. How had they known? How had they found him? The answer came when he saw Agent Rebecca Torres step through the main entrance, her badge held high. Torres had been his partner back in the day, before he'd faked his death. She looked up at the catwalk and smiled. "You can come down now, Marcus. It's over." He rappelled down slowly, his hands raised, unsure what to expect. The FBI agents didn't point their weapons at him. They stepped aside, showing respect. Torres walked over and handed him a cup of coffee. 20 years is a long time to be dead," she said quietly, "but you were never as invisible as you thought." Marcus looked around the warehouse. "We've been watching you. Watch them," Torres replied.
Did you really think the Secret Service would let one of their best agents disappear without keeping tabs?
"We knew about the bridge, the shopping carts, the radio communications. We knew about everything."
Then why didn't you stop me?
Torres smiled.
Because you were doing our job better than we could. The Brennan family has been safer with you guarding them than they ever were with official protection. Victor Kozlov made one mistake. He assumed you were working alone. He never considered that your sacrifice might have been part of a larger plan.
Marcus felt the weight of 20 years lifting from his shoulders.
My family
"Is safe. Sarah has been working with us for the past 5 years. She figured out you were alive when she started volunteering at that homeless shelter. Smart woman, gets it from her father. Emma knows her grandfather is a hero, even if she doesn't know his name." Timothy was being untied from his chair, and he walked over to Marcus with a smile.
"Thank you,"
he said simply.
"for everything."
Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice to work properly. Torres handed him a phone.
"There's someone who wants to talk to you."
The voice on the other end was older now, but still familiar.
"Marcus, it's Tom. Senator Brennan. I just wanted to say, thank you doesn't seem like enough.
"You don't owe me anything, sir."
I owe you everything. My son, my family, 20 years of life. But more than that, I owe you the truth. We never stopped looking for a way to bring you home, and now, well, Victor Kozlov is going to prison for the rest of his life. The threat is over. You can stop being dead now."
Marcus looked around the warehouse, at the FBI agents, at Timothy, at the life he'd thought he'd lost forever.
"What happens now?"
"Now," Torres said, "you get to go to your granddaughter's school play." The elementary school auditorium was packed with parents, grandparents, and siblings, all waiting for the third-grade production of Peter Pan to begin. Marcus sat in the back row, wearing clean clothes for the first time in 20 years, his hair cut, his face shaven. He looked almost normal, almost alive. The curtain rose, and there she was, Emma, his granddaughter, dressed as Tinkerbell, her face glowing with excitement. She looked out into the audience, searching, and for just a moment, her eyes met his. She smiled and waved, as if she'd been expecting him all along. After the play, Sarah approached him in the lobby, tears streaming down her face. She didn't say anything, just wrapped her arms around him and held on tight. "I know," she said seriously. "Guardian angels and grandfathers are the same thing." 6 months later, Marcus Sullivan was officially resurrected by the federal government. His death certificate was quietly erased, his service record restored. He was offered a position training new Secret Service agents, sharing the lessons he'd learned from 20 years in the shadows. He declined. He'd spent enough time being invisible. Instead, he bought a small house 3 blocks from Sarah's family and got a job at Emma's school as a crossing guard. Every morning he stood at the intersection outside the building, helping children cross the street safely. Some of the parents thought he was overqualified for the job. A former federal agent, working as a crossing guard. It seemed like a waste of talent. They were wrong about that too, because protecting people, especially children, was never a waste of talent. It was the most important job in the world. And Marcus Sullivan, after 20 years of being dead, was finally alive again. Sometimes the greatest love is the love that stays hidden. Sometimes the greatest sacrifice is the sacrifice nobody sees. And sometimes the most important protection comes from the guardian angels we never know are there. Have you ever wondered who might be watching over you? Who might be protecting you from dangers you never even know exist? Tell us in the comments and let us know what city you're watching from today. Subscribe to Quiet Tales Studio for more tales of silent heroes, hidden guardians, and the warriors who protect us from the shadows. Because every community has its guardian angels. We just don't always know their names.